Hello, A Push crew. I'm Brandon Daly, as always. Yes, yesterday we talked about um, the President Thomas Jefferson and his difficulties abroad. Today we are shifting to our fourth president, James Madison. So Jefferson believed strongly in the precedent set by Washington to voluntarily retire after the second term. For his party's nomination for president, he supported his closest friend, Secretary of State James Madison. Ever since leading the effort to write and ratify the Constitution, Madison was widely viewed as a brilliant thinker. He had worked tirelessly with Jefferson in developing the Democratic-Republican Party. On the other hand, he was a weak public speaker, possessed a stubborn temper, and lacked Jefferson's political skills. With Jefferson's backing, Madison was nominated for president by a caucus of congressional Democratic Republicans. Other factions of the Democratic Party nominated two other candidates. Madison was able to win a majority of electoral votes and to defeat both his opponents and the Federalist candidate, Charles Pinckney. So, Democratic Republicans had three nominees because they were so fractured. The Federalists only had one nominee. And what I believe is the fact that President Jefferson, backed James Madison, that that really sealed the deal. So let's talk for a minute about commercial warfare. And we all know the position of the first three presidents, George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. Madison's presidency was dominated by the same European problems that had plagued Jefferson's second term. Like Jefferson, he attempted a combination of diplomacy and economic pressure to deal with the Neapolitan War, the wars outside of our control. Unlike Jefferson, though, he finally consented to take the United States into war. And this is where we see the buildup to the War of 1812 that we are getting into for the rest of the week. After the repeal of Jefferson's disastrous Embargo Act, Madison hoped to end economic hardship while maintaining his country's right to neutrality. The Non-Intercourse Act of 1806 provided that Americans could not trade with all nations except Britain and France. So they could now trade with any and all nations besides the two nations that were at war with each other. That is the Non-Intercourse Act. Economic hardship continued into 1810. Nathaniel Macoun, a member of Congress, introduced a bill that restored U.S. trade with Britain and France, major trade partners that we have and still have today. The bill provided, however, that if either Britain or France formally agreed to respect U.S. neutrality at sea, then the United States would prohibit trade with the nation's foe. So, very brilliant bill. It stated basically, hey, we're opening trade to both of you. But if one of you says, I'm respecting the United States' right to stay neutral, then we won't trade with the other country. Very smart move. Let's see what they decide in the long run. Upon hearing of Congress's action, Napoleon announced his intention of revoking the decrees that had violated U.S. neutral rights. Taking Napoleon at his word, Madison carried out the terms of Macoun's Bill No. 2 by embargoing U.S. trade with Britain in 1811. However, he soon realized that Napoleon had no interest in fulfilling his promise. The French continued to seize American merchant ships. So now we're at the juxtaposition of we made an agreement and he flat out broke it. And this is important. The impressment of U.S. merchant ships is important to the War of 1812, which we will get into later. Alrighty, guys. Talk soon.